Tonight, you are going to hear a story that you will never forget. This story is one of the scariest experiences you have ever heard. The story is based on the novel The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. So stay with us on the end of the video. Anna, a young woman, lived in a large old house on the outskirts of town. It had been in her family for generations, a place steeped in history and secrets. Anna had always been fascinated by horror stories, especially The Exorcist. Never in her wildest dreams had she imagined these tales would become part of her reality. It all started one stormy night. As she sat in her room, lost in a book, a strange noise echoed from downstairs. A sound like a moon or a scream that made the hair on the back of her neck stand on end. She wanted to leave her room and investigate, but fear held her paralyzed. The next day, Anna noticed strange changes in her mother. Her usually calm and gentle mother was now irritable and aggressive. Strange sounds emanated from her throat, and her eyes seemed to glow an unnatural color. Terrified, Anna felt that an evil person had invaded their home. At night, strange noises would echo through the house. Doors would slam shut on their own. Objects would move without explanation, and sometimes a dark shadow would flicker in the corner of a room. Anna tried to confide in her friends and family, but no one believed her. They thought she was imagining things. Anna had reached her wits' end. Feeling isolated and desperate, she decided to investigate the matter herself. She began researching the history of the house and discovered that it had been the site of strange occurrences in the past. Legend had it that the restless spirits of a young woman haunted the house, seeking revenge. The more Anna delved into the mystery, the more she became convinced of a malevolent presence in her home. She visited the town library and devoured books on exorcism and demonic forces. In one such book, she found a spell set to ward off evil spirits. With trembling hands, Anna decided to try this spell. She gathered the necessary ingredients and at midnight performed the ritual in the room where the most disturbing events had taken place. As she chanted the incantation, a strange thing began to happen. Objects in the room shook violently, lights flickered on and off, and mournful wails echoed through the house. Anna had unwavering faith in the spell she had cast. She commanded the evil forces to leave her home. After a while, everything seemed to calm down, and the house returned to normal. Relieved, Anna thought she had finally escaped her nightmare. But her peace was short-lived. A few nights later, she heard the strange noises again. This time they were much closer, as if coming from within the walls. Anna realized that the evil forces were still present in her home and were stronger than ever. Anna knew she couldn't handle this alone. She turned to a Catholic priest for help. When he heard her story, he realized she was dealing with a powerful entity. He told Anna the only way to rid her home of this evil was through an exorcism. The exorcism was performed at Anna's home. The priest, through prayers and religious rituals, attempted to expel the demonic forces. During the ceremony, terrifying events unfolded. Furniture was damaged, walls cracked, and Anna felt an invisible force trying to pull her into darkness. After hours of struggle, the priest managed to expel the demonic forces from Anna's home. But Anna was no longer the same girl. She had lost her spree and always felt like she was being watched. Anna left the house, but the shadow of fear followed her everywhere. She traveled to different cities, took on various jobs, but wherever she went, she felt like the evil entity was pursuing her. Her nightmares intensified. In her dreams, the creature would stare at her with hideous eyes and a menacing grin, calling her name in a harsh voice. During one of her trips to a small coastal town, Anna met an elderly local woman. Known for her deep knowledge of the supernatural, the woman listened intently to Anna's tale. After hearing her story, the old woman nodded and said, "You've encountered something very powerful, my dear. It won't let go of you easily." The woman told Anna that the only way to escape this nightmare was to face her fears head-on. She needed to return to the old house and confront the evil force. Anna was terrified at the thought, but she had no choice. She had to do it. With the old woman's guidance, Anna returned to the old house. As she stepped inside, she felt an invisible force pressing against her. Every hair on her body stood on end, and her heart pounded in her chest. Anna tried desperately to remain calm, clutching the amulet the old woman had given her. She began to recite the incantation she had been taught. Strange noises filled the house, doors slammed shut, objects levitated, and a dark shadow emerged from a corner of the room. It crept slowly towards Anna. She stared at the shadow with fear and called out to God. Suddenly, a blinding light filled the room. The shadow let out a blood-curdling scream and vanished. The house shook violently. Anna collapsed to the floor, unconscious. When she woke, she was in a hospital bed. Doctors told her she had fainted from shock. Anna returned to the old house to find it completely normal. There was no trace of the evil presence. Anna learned many lessons from this experience. She learned that fear is the greatest enemy of man and that by facing fears, one can overcome them. She also learned that there is always hope in life and that even in the darkest moments, there is light. Anna returned to her normal life and tried to forget what had happened to her. But every now and then, when she thought about that old house, she felt that there were still secrets in it that she had never been able to discover. After leaving the old house, Anna retreated to a small town nestled in the woods. She rented a little cottage and tried to start a new life, but every night her dreams were haunted by the same terrifying visions. The demonic entity would stare at her with glowing eyes, calling her name in a menacing voice. Over time, Anna began to notice strange changes within her soul. She felt an unseen force coursing through her veins. She heard voices others couldn't, and saw things others couldn't see. Desperate, Anna sought the help of a psychologist. She poured her heart out, recounting every terrifying detail of her ordeal. After listening to Anna's story, the psychologist referred her to a paranormal expert. The expert, upon examining Anna's condition, concluded that she had been possessed by a powerful demonic force that would not let go easily. The paranormal expert suggested Anna journey to an ancient temple in the Himalayas. He believed that the Buddhist monks there could help her break free from the demonic entity. Hopeful for a solution, Anna traveled to the temple. The monks performed a ritual for her, but it had no effect. The evil force continued to torment her. Desperate and alone, Anna decided to return to the old house. She wanted to confront the evil, and end the torment once and for all. As she entered, she felt an unseen presence welcoming her. The dark shadow that had haunted her for years appeared before her. She stared at it with unwavering determination. "I'm not afraid of you," she declared. "I'm stronger." In that moment, a blinding light filled the room, and the shadow vanished. Anna felt a sense of liberation. She was free from the evil entity, but she never truly understood what it was or why it had chosen her. After returning from the ancient temple, Anna felt a shift within herself. She was calmer and more focused. Her nightmares diminished, and she no longer felt the evil entity's presence. With the help of a psychologist, Anna was able to overcome her fears and rebuild her life. She became a successful author, publishing a book about her experiences. Anna's book quickly became a bestseller, captivating readers worldwide. By sharing her story, Anna not only helped herself, but also inspired countless others facing similar challenges. She demonstrated that even in the darkest of times, it's possible to overcome adversity and move forward. If this story so far has scared you, like this video to see how many people dare to watch the rest of the video. But Anna's peace was short-lived. Over time, Anna realized that the evil entity had never truly left her. It had taken root deep within her, waiting for the perfect moment to return. Her nightmares intensified, becoming more horrifying than ever. In her dreams, she saw the demonic being gradually overpowering her, transforming her into something like itself. Anna felt herself losing her identity. She could no longer trust anyone and constantly felt watched. Voices echoed in her mind, urging her to join them. Anna gradually withdrew from society, retreating to an abandoned house deep in the woods. She spent her days there, poring over ancient, mysterious books. She sought a way to escape this nightmare, but the deeper she dug, the more she became ensnared. One night, as Anna sat in her room, engrossed in an ancient book, she suddenly felt a presence. Slowly, she looked up, her eyes widening as she gazed out the window. A dark shadow was creeping closer. Panic-stricken, Anna jumped to her feet and tried to flee the room, but the door was locked. The shadow swiftly slipped inside and enveloped her. She screamed and fought, but an unseen force pinned her to the ground. In that moment, Anna realized there was no hope. She succumbed to the darkness and became one of them. The absolute darkness overcame Anna. But what awaits Miranda, a young girl who was captured by this darkness and lived in Anna's neighborhood? Stay with us to douse the darkness. Meanwhile, in a nearby abandoned house, Miranda was also captive to the absolute darkness. The shadow that had once haunted her dreams was now a chilling reality. The demonic entity was gradually taking control of her, pulling her deeper into the abyss. Miranda began to see things no one else could. She saw strange creatures lurking in the shadows, speaking to her. They promised her power and immortality if she would only surrender completely. Consumed by loneliness and fear, Miranda gradually came to trust these entities. She began performing strange rituals and reciting incantations that drew her deeper into the darkness. Over time, Anna underwent a horrifying transformation. Her skin grew pale, and her eyes glowed an ominous red. Her hair grew long and tangled, and her nails sharpened into claws. She was no longer human. She had become a monster. One night, as Anna sat alone in her room, The door burst open. A group of priests stormed in. They had been searching for her after rumors of her disappearance, and these strange occurrences at the abandoned house had spread throughout the town. Horrified by Anna's monstrous transformation, the priests attempted to exorcise the evil from her, but their efforts were futile. Now a creature of darkness, Anna attacked and killed them all. Having slaughtered the priests, Anna left the abandoned house and headed towards the town. She was eager to show the world her newfound power. She yearned to rule over humanity and enslave all. Miranda arrived in the town and began a killing spree. She mercilessly slaughtered women and children, drinking their blood. The townspeople cowered in their homes, but Anna hunted them down relentlessly. There was no escape. Finally, the army arrived to confront Miranda, but she had grown too powerful. They were no match for her. With a single glance, she turned the soldiers to dust. Miranda continued her killing spree until the entire city was under her control. Standing atop a tall building, she surveyed the city below. With a maniacal laugh, she declared, "This is only the beginning. I must conquer the world. This is only the beginning. I will conquer the world." Suddenly, the sky darkened and a blinding bolt of lightning struck her. She was thrown violently into the air and crashed to the ground, lifeless. Miranda was dead, but the evil within her lived on. This was far from over. The demon sought a new host to return to the world. Miranda's spirit, infused with demonic power, began to haunt the city. Anyone who opposed her met a gruesome end. The city became a living hell, and its people cowered in fear. News of Miranda's growing demonic power reached a group of demon hunters. This group had been battling evil forces for years and were highly experienced. They arrived in the city, determined to put an end to Miranda's reign. The demon hunters made their way to the abandoned house where Miranda had once resided. They knew this place was the heart of darkness, and that to defeat Miranda, they had to confront her here. In a bloody battle, the demon hunters clashed with Miranda. With her demonic powers, she easily dispatched them one by one. But the hunters refused to yield. They knew that if Miranda were not defeated, the entire world would fall into darkness. At the climax of the battle, one of the hunters, who had spent years perfecting an ancient spell, unleashed it upon Miranda. The spell struck her with immense force, wounding her severely. With a blood-curdling scream, Miranda collapsed and began to disintegrate. With Miranda's spirit vanquished, the demonic power that had consumed her was finally extinguished. The city was freed from darkness, and its people returned to their normal lives. But this was not the end. Have you ever had an exorcism ceremony? Please share your thoughts with us in the comments. Years later, a young woman named Sarah sought shelter from a rainstorm in the same abandoned house where Miranda had once lived. As she wandered through the room where Anna had transformed into a demonic entity, a dark shadow emerged from a corner. The shadow crept towards Sarah. She stared in terror as it drew nearer. The shadow let out a sinister chuckle and whispered, "I always return. I always return."